So this morning we'll do a short study from Swami Sivananda. And the topic this morning is Japa, or repetition of mantra. So in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 10th chapter, Lord Krishna describes to Arjuna his divine glories, his divine manifestations. And he is telling him, among all the immovable things, I'm the Himalayas. Among all the bodies of water, I'm the ocean. Meaning, among every class of beings, I am the most special, the highest, the glorious, the most unique and impressive item among any class of things. Then he says, among all the yagyas, among all the sacrifices, I am the japa, the silent repetition of the mantra. So, meaning, among all the different sadhanas or sacrifices or austerities or spiritual practices, japa is the highest, according to Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. So in the commentary, Swami Sivananda explained why is japa considered to be the highest. And he says because it's the easiest, surest, fastest, and safest way to attain the goal of life, which is God realization. And even though it's so easy, it's also the most effective and the most powerful, and it's a direct way to God. So I think the TTC already had their class on mantra and how to choose a mantra, and very soon they will have their mantra initiation. So it's very appropriate topic for this time to discuss japa. Swami Sivananda talks about the benefits of japa, and he says repetition of any mantra or name of the Lord is known as japa. So mantra, he defines it as divine energy in a sound structure. So that being that we call God or Ishvara, the Lord, the Supreme Being, in a sound, in a name, is the mantra. So mantra is not just any sound, is a divine sound, is a sacred sound, it's a mystical sound, and it not just symbolizes God or represents God, it is God. The Om itself, the mantra itself, or any other mantra, is the divinity itself. And when we repeat it ongoingly, this is called japa. And this repetition can be on different levels. It can be a verbal, vocal repetition. Let's say you take a mantra Om Namah Shivaya and you repeat it Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. This is japa. But you can also repeat it just whispering or just moving your lips. This is a different type of japa. Or you can repeat it completely mentally in a mental way in meditation. And this is the silent repetition, the mental repetition, which is considered the most powerful among the three. But Swami Sivananda also says if it's too difficult or the practitioner needs variety or change, is also very good to every once in a while change from mental to whispering to verbal and vice versa. Then he says japa is an important anga of yoga, or an important limb of the practice of yoga. It is a spiritual food for the hungry soul. So to feed our physical body, to sustain it, we need physical food. We need vegetables and fruits and grains and proteins. But to feed the soul, we need the japa. We need the mantra. This is what our soul is sustained of, because our soul is one with God, and japa is the doorway to God. So, especially if it says if the soul is hungry, is really seeking, sincerely aspiring for God realization. In this case, when when the soul is a spiritual aspirant, japa is really the daily food. Japa is the road in the hands of the blind sadhakas to plod on the road to realization. Blind sadhakas meaning aspirants that are still under avidya or ignorance, spiritual ignorance. What is the way to remove this ignorance and to attain our real nature is japa. Japa is the philosopher's stone or divine elixir that makes one godlike. In this Iron Age, Namasmarana or Japa is the easiest, quickest, safest, and surest way to reach God and attain immortality and perennial joy. Specifically for this age, which is known as the Kali Yuga or the Iron Age, where other sadhanas are a little bit too difficult for most people. Like the jnana yoga sadhana requires a very pure and subtle, sharp intellect. The raja yoga sadhana requires renunciation and abandonment of worldly daily life. The hatha yoga sadhana requires a very strong and flexible body. But japa is open to everyone. There are no restrictions, no limitations, and it's the best way, according to the scriptures, for this Kali Yuga. So now he talks a little bit about practical aids to japa. Practically, very soon the TTC will get their mantra initiation, and maybe other who are in the Karma Yoga program or guests. And after the mantra initiation, it's even more important to daily practice japa. In the initiation itself is like a spark that is lit, but then it needs to be sustained by daily feeding it with, like you have an oil lamp and you lit the wick, but you daily need to feed the flame by adding oil. So this is the commitment that we take when we take the mantra initiation, is to daily practice meditation using our mantra. So here he gives some practical tips how to do it. And he says, the most effective time for japa is early dawn and dusk, when sattva is predominant. So in the early morning, the yogis are talking about the best time, which is between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m., known as the Brahma Muhurta. For most people, it's not practical, but as much closely to that as we can do. Like here, we start at 6 a.m., which is also quite good, because he says this is time where sattva is predominant, the quality of purity, the quality of serenity, peace, calm. The morning hours are very much like that, because especially if we make sure to wake up, take a shower, and immediately start the japa before checking our messages, our emails, our social media, and turning on all kinds of devices or going into too much conversations or discussions. So first thing after waking up from sleep is good to take a shower to wash away the tamasic energy of the sleep, but then not to go into the rajasic energy of the daily activities, but to keep the sattvic atmosphere and start the spiritual practice. And the first and foremost would be the meditation and the japa. And also he says in the evening time is also a very good time for japa and for meditation, because the middle of the day is the energy is more rajasic, it's more hectic. People are coming and going and doing and interacting, but the early morning and the evening time are the best time for japa. Then he says, face the north or the east when sitting. This exercises a subtle influence and enhances the efficacy of the japa. So he's also going into the details of how to sit and which direction to turn. Here, while you're in the ashram, we're meditating in this satsang hall, and you're all facing north. And he's going to explain why it's so beneficial. When you go home, it's very good to have your own meditation room, or at least a meditation corner, by screening a portion of the room, having a small altar that will be like a focal point where you can put some items that represent divinity for you. It has to be very nice, with a nice cloth and a candle, some incense, some flowers, a bell, and an image or more that represent the divine. So this altar ideally should be facing east, or ideally should be in the east side or in the north side. So when you're sitting for the daily japa, you will be facing east or north. Swami Sivananda explained, this way we're benefiting from the positive magnetic forces that are more conducive for meditation. But that now he gives another reasons, and he says, by facing the north, you will be in communion with the rishis of the Himalayas and will be mysteriously benefited by their spiritual currents. A spiritual neophyte should observe this rule. So especially for beginners, it's very good to observe these rules, like facing east or north, uh, meditating in the early morning and in the evening, etc. Sit on kusha grass seat or deer skin or rug. Spread a sheet of cloth over it. This conserves body electricity. So we had some classes on Hatha Yoga, and we all know about the prana, this vital energy that is so important to conserve, because it is critical for successful meditation to have the prana not to be released from the body, but to charge the body, and ideally to be directed to the higher centers in the head. This is very, very important for meditation. But there is one thing about sitting on the earth, that the earth has its own magnetic forces that can pull the prana towards the earth. And in order to conserve it and make sure it remains in the body, the scriptures are recommending to have some kind of what do you call it, like a when you want to seal insulation, to have insulation. And therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 6, Lord Krishna is saying, take a deer skin, a kusha grass, a deer skin, and a grass, and a cloth, 3 layers to ensure this insulation. And many people are wondering about the skin, and it's always mentioned that it's not involving any ahimsa. It's coming from an animal that died a natural death. But in any case, nowadays it's not practical for us in the modern society. So Swami Vishnudevananda says, if you take a woolen blanket and fold it in 4, it's as good. It achieves exactly the same effect of creating this insulation. Have a steady pose. This helps to make the mind also steady and aids concentration. So it is explained in the scriptures that there is an intimate connection between the physical posture of the body and the state of the mind. So, for example, if you take some sadhana from Bhakti Yoga, the sadhana of Vandanam, prostration, is putting the body in a certain posture that is conducive for a state of mind of humility. But in Raja Yoga, in meditation, we want to make sure the mind is in a state of concentration, focus, one-pointedness. So what posture is the most conducive in this case is the cross-legged posture, where we create some triangle shape, and like a pyramid shape, where the lower base is solid and strong, and then the higher centers are at the top, and the the energy can flow freely, especially if we keep the spine straight and erect, but make sure the body is also relaxed and not tense. So this cross-legged posture with a straight spine is the most conducive for concentration and meditation. And this is one reason why we do all the different asanas. All the 12 basic postures are really meant to ensure that one can sit in this asana, in the meditative asana, for 3 hours. This is called asana jaya, without moving the body at all. So this is a very important point to keep in mind. Then he says, do some prayer before starting the japa, invoking the aid of the Ishta Devata with appropriate prayer induces proper sattvika bhava. So before starting the actual practice, he's recommending to tune your mind to your chosen deity. So when you choose a mantra, obviously it's connected with the chosen deity, like Om Namah Shivaya is with the name of Lord Shiva, Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha, name of Ganesha, etc. So of course some people choose the more abstract mantras like Om. Om is the name of God, of Ishvara. So whatever your chosen deity, your chosen way to relate to the divine, is good to tune the mind to your chosen deity and to recite some prayers before starting the practice. He says this create a sattvic bhava, a pure mental attitude that is helpful for the practice. So there are more practical aids in this chapter that we'll do another time. We'll just conclude with the concluding paragraph of this article. Swami Sivananda says, remember the name of the Lord with every incoming and outgoing breath. So not only when you sit for your half-hour meditation in the morning, but all throughout the day. Repeat the name of God and coordinate it with your breath. Form a strong habit of repeating the name of the Lord. Even in dream, you must be doing japa. Then only it will be easy for you to remember Him at the time of death. This is another teaching from the Bhagavad Gita chapter 8, where Krishna is explaining, if you remember God throughout your life, by all the time repeating His name, then it's very likely that at the time in which the soul leaves the body, we will also be remembering God, and that ensures that the soul will reach God. Om Tat Sat.